to your first session. We have a sign-in, okay, and then Susan, back there, Suzanne or Susan? We'll also need to sign in. Anybody else? Oh, here. And so we have handouts. There's 2 there, 3.
Okay. So.
Anybody else just coming for the first time? Need to sign in. Okay, so for the rest of you, that handout is the handout that you got the first week. You're not missing out. It's not a new handout. Okay. All righty. And I have more here, Kathy V.
Thank you, Jerry.
So, today we move on to investigate the 5. And the 5 is all about investigation. But, as always, we're going to start with a little humorous video that will give you a flavor of all 9 types. Okay? And this morning's scenario is a therapist with a client. And it got a little confusing for me because the same 2 actors were playing in all of them, but they switched roles. So I had to review it. The person sitting in the straight back chair is the therapist.
Okay.
That will keep you on track, because I was getting confused in 1 or 2 of them. Who's the therapist here? Yeah. At least I think. Okay. No, that's not what I want. We did that first. Here we go. Cupcakes. Oh, here we go. It's called 9 Types of Bad Therapists.
So the therapist is the one that's the number?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I had this uncomfortable interaction. Was it loud? Okay. So I had an upsetting interaction with my boss, who
I'll go back.
wanted me to work overtime this week. And I said, you know, Friday is when kids recital. I already told you.
Okay, so the person in the wing-back chair or the straight-back chair is the therapist type 1.
So I had this uncomfortable interaction.
Uncomfortable, not a feeling.
Tony,
Okay.
I was thinking,
So I had an upsetting interaction with my boss, who wanted me to work overtime this week. And I said, you know, Friday is when kids recital. I already told you like 2 weeks ago that I had to leave at 5.
had to.
Yeah,
I
said,
chose to. We like to say I chose to.
I chose to. So I said to her, I chose to leave at 5. And she said, you know, well, you can't. I should have done this. I should have said something.
We don't, there's some rules here.
Don't say
Not accurate.
So the point there is that the 1, being their critical self, is instead of letting the person just talk, is stopping her every time she says the wrong word as far as they're concerned. Yeah, and ironically, you shouldn't use should, and yet he's doing it, basically. So Magdalena, we need to get you seated. Where can we? Yeah. All right. Well, the video is only at the beginning. Otherwise, you'll be listening to me. So,
I need to hear.
Okay, so we need to hurry you up, Magdalena, because we've got this being taped. So we need you to just.
You got it? Okay, you're good.
There you go. All the way around.
From here.
All the way
Thank you, everybody. How's that?
I'm one showing. Yeah. All right. So, therapist, the 2 type therapist.
Okay, isn't there supposed to be more spacing?
space. You know one thing that helps? Hug a pillow. I hug my pillow. You touch your pillow?
Like this?
Uh-huh. Hug a pillow.
Hug a pillow. Hug a pillow. Hug a pillow.
Good. So your dream is to be a dancer. You know who else likes dancing? Tom Hanks. At my wedding. Okay, let's do a little role play. You be me, I'll be Tom Hanks. Best wedding I've ever been to. I'm gonna keep my eye on you.
Not appropriate.
So, I have this dream last night, right? I'm in this corridor.
Like the hallway.
Yeah, it stretches on and on.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of doors.
A lot of doors.
I have had that same dream. And then every time I open a door, there's something different behind it. Only I'm running. Like I'm running down and I'm like opening and closing the door. Opening as like quickly as I can.
In mine, there was actually the same thing behind the door.
Right.
Stuff twice.
Oh my god, I didn't see that, but I know what you mean though, because I'll open the door and I'll go, a cow, brown cow, and I'll close the door and I'll go to the next one. But the hard part about it is that the doors are endless and I can't get beyond, like there's never an ending door. I wake up before I get to the end
For
of
me,
it.
there was actually this last door. And behind it's this like this thing that drops down and it says, not heard, not heard. A banner. Just
Right, did you feel sad? I felt sad, like afterwards, like that weird, like, what am I sad about? I don't know, but I'm sad. It's not, I mean, like, not just the dream, this just reminds me, maybe that you'll relate. Die. If you just want to, like, die, like, or just go, it's not like you're actually gonna do, but you think, if I were gonna die, what would I do?
like really
I know.
unnecessary.
Oh,
Why are you doing it?
right. I don't, yeah, why am I doing it? Why do I do anything? I think I feel compelled, I want to help people, but I also feel really compelled to express myself and know myself. It's about knowing me. And that is why, the dreams are a good way to...
I have to be someone.
I know, that we all.
That's your therapist.
You know, I like to get to know people a little better before I answer such personal questions.
I just asked you if you took American Express.
So, what brings you in today?
My gut says I should talk about these things.
You know what my gut says? But that's not real. I never read about a gut book.
Okay, the gut book. Okay.
Wasn't in the gut book.
So, I had an appointment this morning, and,
Doctor? Are you sick? Is it at home?
This is a 6.
Just give it to me straight. Listen, Allison, sometimes a bump in the road is an opportunity for change.
my husband left me. And the kids.
Or did he move away and you stayed put?
He left with my sister.
Sister? What do you think about ice cream? Yeah. Uh-huh. Pretty good.
You know, you seem really sad today.
It just keeps coming. It's just waves of grief.
Oh yeah, why don't you cry like a baby? Yeah.
My mom died.
Your mom? You want a bottle? Babies like bottles.
So then I tell him, look, I want you to be there. You don't even, like, if you don't want to come, don't come. Just let me know. Just at least let me know either way.
Are you angry with me right now? Because I feel like you're directing it in this point.
No, I mean, I was trying to do something about, like, that's important. Turning attention.
Gosh, we're out of time.
It's only been 12 minutes. Sorry about that, the volume was... So that was the outtake. That was funny. Now these are characters we know, but they kind of get a flavor of the personality of the type. So I just want to open up the opportunity for anybody who perhaps discovered that they were a 4 last week, or had any questions or comments, any leftovers from last week about the 4? No. Okay. So I came in, if you were here last week, with this multicolored cap and a gold lame jacket and a scarf that was a totally different color. That was like supposed to represent the uniqueness of the 4. So often, you know, people who will take on a whole different culture. It's like, you know, they're dressing as if they're African American, or if they're from India or whatever. That's often 4-ish. But the other one that's common, and there was a 4 here actually who was dressed this way, they dress all in black. Because it's that, you know, that's the intense color. And if you think of the goth personality, you know, the teens and the early 20s, the black mascara. So what that's getting into is the specialness of that feeling. If you remember about 4, it's all about the intensity of the feeling. So when they dress that way, they're in role, and they're proclaiming that to the world, that sense of pain and suffering, or, you know, unrequited love, or whatever it is, or just specialness and uniqueness. It doesn't have to be negative. It can be special. It can be a positive thing. Okay, so Claire.
I have a question about the distribution of frequency
Mm-hmm.
amongst the 9 types. Are there some that are more common than others, or are there some that are rare?
Yes.
Are they equally distributed?
So, Claire asked, are the numbers evenly distributed among the population? So if you have the Enneagram Made Easy book, on page 155, there's a chart that shows you where the Myers-Briggs types, you know, you've IE, introvert, extrovert, S or N, sensing or intuitive, thinking, feeling, judging, perceiving. So like INFP or ENFP or all of those, there's 4, 8, 12, 16 different types. So it shows you then by a color scheme, the black means it's most common. So like say on the very first line, ESTJ, all the way over, well, 1s and 8s are the most common. And then the least common, 2s, 4s, and 9s. And it makes sense, because you know, if you're a feeling type, you're not going to be in the T category so much, or the J category. You're probably going to be in the F and P category. So these things all do correlate, and it doesn't give percentages, but it does show you how there is sort of a distribution across the various numbers. That's the best I can offer. All right, so we're moving on to 5. And this is the Ennea app, E-N-N-E-A, capital A-P-P. So you can buy it online through iTunes for $2.99. And there's a lot of information in here. And so this is just the basic schema of the Enneagram. So Today we're down here in the 5 personality type. And so we remember that the 8th, the 9th, and the 1s are the gut people. The 2s, 3s, and 4s are the heart-centered people. 5, 6, and 7, we're moving into the head-centered people. So it said that there are 3 centers: the gut, the heart, and the head. Now, the 5 does have a 4 wing. And for those of you who are new to this, we'll talk about that. You have a 6 wing and a 4 wing. Whichever numbers are right next to you are your wings. So that means that the 5 has a leg in the head center and a wing in the head center, but it also has 1 leg in the heart center. So there's a little, hopefully, more balance there. Now, if you are a 5, obviously this is going to be very interesting for you, but if you're also a 4 or a 6, a lot of this should resonate with you because you have a wing that you go into where the 4 can have a 5 wing, the 6 can have a 5 wing. So 4s and 6s should also kind of resonate with this. And then we also have the 2 lines of integration and disintegration, which means the 7 and the 8. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 will have an affinity to this information around the 5. And again, we know that ultimately we all have aspects of all of these, but you may find yourself resonating with some of this. Okay. 5. Let me go back here and look at this. Yeah. So the 5 is often called the investigator. It defends self from intrusion from other people, from life, and feelings of inadequacy through protecting their privacy. Holds back strong feelings, limits desires and needs. They often live a minimalist lifestyle. So think of scan design furniture. When you go into someone's sitting room and you feel like you're in a museum, it's like it's all very, that nice wood. Just it's not elaborate. It's not decorative. It's all lines and it's very clean. Security comes through knowledge and information, and this is their big thing. The 5s are always observing. So there may be 5 sitting in the back of the room right now, because that's where they kind of, we've got one 5. Any advance on 1? Do we have another one over there? Another one back there? Yeah. So 5s will not be sitting in the front row. They'll be sitting in the back, taking it all in and observing everything. And the animal that is sort of the totem for the 5 is the owl.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember once stepping out of my back door down in San Jose, and there was this gorgeous oak tree, and I was just standing there sort of looking, and all of a sudden I became aware that there was 2 eyes looking at me from the tree. And I hadn't noticed there was an owl, big owl, sitting on this branch. And that's sort of a very good analogy for them. You won't really notice them, they're kind of quiet, they're just sitting quietly, taking it all in. And if they go to a party, they will be somewhere kind of hiding out in the corner or sitting back. They won't be going around meeting people. They enjoy living in their own mind and in the world of ideas. So, very scholarly professors, nutty professors, depending on, their wings and the subtypes that they are, compartmentalizes people and situations. So, they're very good at doing that, like their work life and then their private life. People may not know anything. Their fellow workers may not know anything about them. They don't share openly about, they're very secretive that way. And that is also then one of the things that people often feel about them, that they're kind of stingy. Not necessarily with money, they can be, but it's more about they're afraid to give away their resources, so they're holding on. It's a holding on sort of a strategy to life, because you never know, you may need that. Now you can imagine that could lead to hoarding. So that could be perhaps a characteristic of 5s, or if you are a hoarder, it could be that that's your 5 element coming out. They can detach from emotions very easily, and they can also detach from life. I once dated someone who was a 5. It would be wonderful until suddenly it was like the switch got thrown, and then it was like this disappearing act and this withdrawing of emotion. It was very disconcerting because I didn't know what was going on. But you soon learn. They then will withdraw sort of from the relationship for a week or two with no explanation, and then suddenly they're back as if nothing happened. So one of the things also about 5s is that they do have trouble with intimate and personal relationships. Often they have to manage that, and what they will do is be in a relationship where they will live in their house and the other person will live in their house, because it's too overwhelming for them to be in another space sharing with someone else. They'll just want their own space. They also, and I've known someone you all know too, but who was in a relationship with someone for 30 years, but that was how their relationship worked.
2 houses?
Yeah, and they would get together on weekends, Friday night till Monday morning, and then they would each go, well, one of them would stay in their own house and the other person would go, and and it worked, and it works for them. And people, like the rest of us, might go, well, that's really strange. Well, that's why, there is that need, and it works. You may know someone like that, and that's very important. So having that barrier, having that space, otherwise they just feel like they're losing themselves. They can't hold on to who they are when they're in that close proximity to one other person. It sort of swamps them. So in that sense, it's a good thing that they do that. That's what they need to do. Now, then you can always work on that, and we'll get into that. Their gifts, of course, are that they're really knowledgeable. These are resource people that you want in your organization. And they're very respectful of others. They have great mental clarity, somewhat like the 1s who kind of are the 3s that can really see almost psychically. It feels like that they can really see into the heart of the matter, that they have that clarity. They're very dependable, they're very thoughtful. Their goal is to maintain detachment and achieve total knowledge through objective intelligence. And I think I told the story about when I was at St. Anthony's in Kailua, and I went to the Enneagram workshop with my secretary and her husband, and as I said, 5 minutes into the first presentation, I said, I'm a 5. And it's like, they're like, how do you know you're a 5? I just know. I just heard he said something. Boom, that's me. And then the next session was on the 2s, and then she goes into this whole shame posture because she realizes she's a 2. And then, we get through the 5s, and I said to Lou, so what do you, I don't know. I need to listen more. I need to hear more. And then at the end of the workshop, so many weeks later, he still didn't know who he was or what he was, because that's the 5. So if you're here and at the end of all of this, you still don't know who or what you are on the Enneagram, you might want to take a look at the 5. It doesn't mean that you are, because there can be confusion between certain numbers, but that often is the case for a 5. They're still, the verdict's out. They need more info. So, we talk about, let's see, where did I put that? I guess I didn't. Okay. All right, then I'll use the app. So the passion is, and this word it's not the best word, avarice. is the word that they use. Their passion, the energy that kind of drives them is, it's not greed, but more like retentiveness. They have this hoarding mentality about knowledge, about their emotions. Don't express them, keep them to yourself. A feeling that there isn't enough, that there just is not enough in your life, in my life. And so I have to be careful there. So the passion of the 5 is to withhold and to hang on to what little they do have. And that's a judgment. And we talked earlier on about with each of the numbers, there is a perception. Doesn't mean that it's true. You know, I think we all know, and maybe I can even say for myself, you know, there's that part of me as a 1. No matter what my bank account says, there's, well, yeah, but you could have more, you know. If you had this much more, then you'd really be safer. So it's that type of, the 5 has that a lot about everything. There isn't enough time. And time also for the 5s is a big thing. It's about not having enough time to research and to get more knowledge. And money, space, love, you know, these are the things they feel like there's not enough. I need more space. Okay. The fixation, which is the attempt to get what you want, the fixation for the 5 is hoarding of knowledge or material goods and the reluctance to share yourself, your real self, your time, or your possessions. So that's how they think they're going to get what they want that will fix their life, is to hold back. Okay. So we also know that for all of these personalities, that there is what we call the childhood wound. And last week I talked about this in terms of traditional Christianity being, you know, the Garden of Eden, your innocence, where you knew you were loved, you knew you were good, whatever. And then there's the fall from grace. Something happened that you got kicked out of that space, out of the garden. And now you're trying to get back to the garden. And so that is what the fixation is. Sorry. No. What was I doing? Oh, the childhood wound. Yeah. Childhood wound. These children received no meaningful interaction, emotion, or affection from caregivers, or the child had intrusive, over-controlling parents and felt exposed and defenseless in the face of the intrusion. As a result, they built walls around themselves and retreated to the mental realm. Now, one of the things, again, we always caution, this is a perception that you had as a child. It does not mean that it's true. It does not mean that your parents didn't give you emotional love or care, or that they were intrusive, but it's how it was received, how it felt to the child. They felt that they didn't get that warm, fuzzy love, or they felt that the parent was always helicoptering, always telling them what they should do, how they should do it, how they should feel. And so, you know, this is a very good strategy. You pull away, you pull back, because it's intrusive, it's smothering. So 5s have that sense of being smothered by other people. So their focus of attention is the internal focus is they're worried about what others want from them. So that they have a slightly defensive posture. It's like, what are you up to? What do you want from me? So you're going to take something from me. So the focus goes to disconnecting from feelings to thinking about it, figuring it out, or avoiding it. So there's an avoidance game, there's a rationalization game, there's a pulling away from uncomfortable feelings. So in the Enneagram in general, there are sort of different themes for some of the numbers types. This is competency. So the 5 wants to feel competent. And of course, when it comes to knowledge, I mean, it must be awful in the internet age. How do you ever achieve competency? I've got a response on the front row here from someone who might be a 5. It's overwhelming. Like, how many theories of personality and therapy, if you're a therapist, how are you going to master all of those and all of the techniques and, you know, and then skillfully know which one to use, right? All right.
Exactly.
So we're getting into the world of the 5 here. Like, it must be really challenging to be in the internet age. And then the other 2 numbers that are into competency are the 1s, like myself, or the 3s. The 1s want to be competent in terms of being perfect. The 3s want to be competent in terms of achievement and how they look. So it's a competency, but it has a different flavor to it. But the 3 of us would all resonate with that trying to be competent. For a 1, God love me, it was trying to be a saint. I'm serious, it just hit me as I said it. It's like, oh my God, that's me as a child. I've always said if I had died by the time I was 10, I would have been beatified. I would have been a saint. Trying so hard, yeah. And then the other sort of aspect of the 5 is the withdrawing. And then the other 2 numbers that tend to withdraw are the 9 and the 4. So we've talked about how sort of there's 3 stances towards life. There's the number that's out there and coming at you. There's the number in the middle that's sort of managing and controlling and neutral. And then there's the one that's withdrawing. So the 9s, the 4s, and 5s have a withdrawing feeling. Like you're always trying to like bring them forward. Like, where are you going? Come here. You know, I want to be in a relationship with you. And they're like squirming away. So their motto might be, I'll keep a low profile so you can't intrude and control me. So there's a fear of being, I have a feeling I should just hand the microphone over. It's like I'm giving all these affirmations. So the main theme, the world seems unpredictable, chaotic, threatening, and intrusive. Chief defense is observation from a distance, obtaining knowledge, withdraws to their own private world, takes a detached, unaffected view, often has difficulty engaging with other people and or the task at hand. They can be characteristically loners. They are, by the way, the sort of classic Zen monk. It checks all sorts of boxes because, you know, they're in their little cell, so they have their space. It's minimalist.